There you go.
Welcome back to Aces 53, everyone, with Ed Parcaut and myself. As you know, today is a Thursday. So what does that mean? That means we have a special guest. And so today's joker is Mark Stern. But here's the trick. I don't know Mark. Mark is Ed's guest. So I was going to let Ed take the panel.
All right. So I met Mark on one of my Inner Edison podcasts. I was and it was weird is because I had somebody else before. I was actually after him, recording after him, that actually has this box and how he sent me all this stuff. And I thought it was amazing how all this stuff was put together. And then come to find out, I interviewed him and I had no idea about it. But it's all about how to be the authority in your industry. And I thought he would be great at talking about what he does. So I'm going to bring in Mark Stern. Move some things around here. Hey, Mark, how you doing?
Good. How are y'all doing?
Good. Name of your company again?
Custom Box Agency.
Did you change your logo since the last time we did this, or a different room?
Different room. So this is the CBA lab, the Custom Box Agency lab. So this is like the space that when clients come to Austin and we spend the day on their business, this is kind of where they'll come hang out. Tons of examples. There's just tons of boxes all around me. Mm-hmm. And I'm a child of the 80s. So there's lots of 80s inspiration that has influenced it as well. So
where in Austin are you located?
In Lakeway. Are you in Austin?
I'm in Dallas, but I'm in Austin quite a bit because there's always something going on there or surrounding areas.
Yes. I love it here. It's a good space. No,
I would too, but you guys have this thing. It's called humidity.
It's not as bad in Austin as it is in Dallas and Houston.
Yeah. Dallas, well, Houston's the worst of all.
Houston is the worst. Dallas is a very close. I thought
San Antonio was the worst.
San Antonio, a little bit. Houston for sure. Then it's kind of a toss up between San Antonio and Dallas. The nice thing about where Mark lives is less humidity and it's very hilly. So it's called Texas Hill Country because the rest of Texas is freaking flat for a very, very long time. But out there's lots of cool like crevices and peaks and lakes. And the only problem with Austin is the infrastructure was not built to handle the amount of people that moved there. And so to get anywhere takes you forever and a day.
Unless you live in a bubble like Lakeway. Yes. So I just have my like 5 mile radius of everything. So luckily, like the chaos of downtown, I avoid as much as possible.
I don't blame you.
All right. Now that we got out of the way where we live and everything, because I think it's important I'm finding out there's so much more going on in Austin and Dallas than anywhere else lately. And it seems like everybody's coming to the middle of the country, somewhat middle of the country, because it's easier for people. Where it used to be Las Vegas was huge. I hate going to Florida from, the West Coast just because it takes forever to get there.
Right.
But that's my take on. All right. So let's get into how you started what you do. Because I don't think I know some people know what you do, Mark, but not, I was shocked at what you did with the box, because that's a unique position. If I'm going to send something out and I want to stand out, that's when they come to you.
Yep. That's it. So, a lot of where we play is when I left corporate America and became an entrepreneur, everything became so digital. And like I would buy these products and services or join these programs. And it was almost like I had to run through hoops to get started with the process. And a lot of what we focus on is one, we're really in the business of optimizing customer journey. So do you know how people interact with your products and services? And then two, how we optimize that is we will turn your business almost into a game. There's a clear journey that people can follow. And then with the box piece, it's really our vehicle, like the boxes that we create. It's about sending the tools and resources your people need to be set up for success out of the gate. So that's kind of where we play is, do we have a clear process of how people are navigating and getting the result? A lot of where we play is, how can you use this strategy to acquire customers or to better deliver on your products or services or to retain? Acquisition, delivery, retention are our 3 types of campaigns that we specialize in. And really, it's just meant to be fun. But what's so stand out about it is when you bring something physical to a digital experience, it just up levels that experience in a really powerful way.
And this is just something I thought of. If you sell online, people have chargebacks, right? Mm-hmm. But if you mail them something and they receive something, then you actually limit that amount of chargebacks.
It's one of the best strategies is if you have proof in the tracking information that you actually delivered something, it's a huge defense against chargebacks.
What? So did you know? Go ahead, Brian. It looks like you had a question. It was just
I didn't want finish your chargeback, and I want to answer something after that. So go
No,
ahead.
that was it. That's all it is. It's besides everything else, but because one of the conferences I went to, the one guy was complaining about all the chargebacks he was getting, and he said, "This is how I changed it." And it was he would send out something to them on every single one of them, and then he stopped getting that. He could prove that he actually mailed them something, even if it was just an invoice about what they did and what they received. They received something, but this just adds a totally different. And that's not what we're here to talk about, is to alleviate your chargebacks, but just the unique boxes and stuff that you can do to make your product stand out more than anybody else.
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I think one thing just to say is that when people think of these experiences, I think a lot of people think of swag boxes and sending things that would average. I see typical swag boxes $60 to $120, depending on what you're sending. We joke and say swag means stuff without a goal. A lot of what we're focused on is the intentionality about what we're curating and what we're sending to the customer, client, or your employee. And so a lot of these experiences that we build out, they'll have 30 to 50 pieces in them, but it's not uncommon for our boxes to be $15 to $30, or a mailer being $2 to $6. So it doesn't need to break the bank.
I went sign up for an online like virtual training or something. It was a 2-day speaker thing, and they sent a box like that, and it came with a pen. It came with some little like things you were supposed to hold up, like little signs, and it came with a book. And it made a difference, because then you're thinking, oh, I did sign up for that. So it was a nice physical reminder to get. And then you obviously tell other people about it. That's a great idea, because I sign up for a lot of stuff virtually and I forget it even exists. But because theirs came with a package and a workbook and things of that nature, I was on there. So obviously they were investing the money up front, because it was a very cheap ticket, probably just enough to cover whatever box they used. And then they upsell the entire time of the webinar. That's a great idea. I am curious, do you do this a lot with coaches? So if somebody gets on a new high-end coaching client and they're like, okay, I want this person to get these 2 books, this material, something of that nature. How do you custom the box? Do people send you things, then you create the box? How does it work?
So for us, we want to take the pressure off of you as much as possible. With the coaching programs are probably one of our biggest categories. With coaching, what we want to look at is, let's just say if it's a year-long coaching program, we'll work with the client to define what's the journey look like navigating throughout the year, but the box experience may be just the first quarter. So we may actually say on the box that this is box 1 of 4. So instantly you're creating this open loop to say, if you want to collect all the pieces, you have to keep playing the game. But I like to seed the journey as much as possible to say, if you quit or leave, because a lot of coaching programs have payment plans that you're paying monthly. Some do collect pay in full, but I want to keep people engaged. And if you overwhelm and give them way too much stuff on the get-go, typically, like if people get overwhelmed, they'll start to feel like a failure. People who feel like a failure will either disappear or ask for a refund. So this is all about how do we curate the experience to say, so when clients work with us, we will literally go through your program. And oftentimes clients will come here and we'll help optimize the program itself. So that strategy is one of my superpowers that I have a lot of fun with, because once you bring physical to digital, how you can gamify your business, it's just a really cool thing. So that's it. I mean, you'll see like this is a coaching box that I have here, a box set with the workbooks and a gamified version of the program. This is another coaching box in the fitness space. And you'll see a lot of our boxes typically are small, because a lot of it gets into what do you actually save? I know when you read a book, you don't throw out a book. You put it on a bookshelf. So a lot of boxes are the size of a book to fit on a bookshelf, but we want people to get in the mindset, especially with coaching programs, to want to collect all the pieces. So it's not just this open loop staring back at you.
Interesting. Okay.
Just a totally different way of looking at everything. I mean, it really is. So, I mean, I'm trying not to like run through things I already know, because we had this long conversation already. So I'm trying to get Brian to come up with the, so I'm trying to down this path.
Why you got to make me work? I
just don't want to act like I know everything, but it's very, if you have any program, anything you're trying to do, and you want to be that authority in your industry, this is just one extra thing to make you be there. Because think about, people will remember this.
Exactly.
Right? And I was talking to somebody, because he deals with the real estate agents, that listing, because the whole thing that's going on in that industry, how do you set yourself apart from the next person who just sends this CMA? Right? There's so many things you can do.
Yeah, I'm even thinking, like I said, I had a coach before, and one of the things that was interesting is when I signed up for their coaching, I got books in the mail, but it wasn't a pretty box, but it was like, hey, these are the books that in addition to what I'm going to teach you, these are the books that I think you need to read for this course. And I mean, right now I'm just thinking on a selfish level, like I mail out flashcards to people and I mail out books to people. And that's just me going to the post office and it shows up in whatever condition the post office does. And so if it was one of those things of if they're a coaching client and could do 1 box, 2 boxes, whatever, but it's something they get excited. And we all go back to that childhood memory of we want to open a gift and see what's inside versus open an email and download a PDF. It's brilliant.
Yeah, that's the cool thing about open rates for boxes versus emails. Emails are so oversaturated. I get hundreds of emails in a day. I don't even look at my email inbox. You send something physical in the mail. I see statistics saying 90+% because people love opening gifts. They love getting something physical. And if you want people to read a book, I say include the book in the box set, give them a book reading guide to tell them how they should read the book or how many pages they should read each day to guide them through it. Infuse it with what you're doing because people will do it if you build it into the structure of the experience you're laying out there.
Was your daughter singing there, Brian?
Yeah, I was gonna ask if you guys could hear that or not. So, pardon me 1 second.
Give him a second, but so we should go through a process. So Brian is the facial recognition guy. That is
right.
Who he is. So for him to create, he needs to come to you and have you sit down with you and walk through his process because he does coaching. He does corporate coaching. He does, a bunch of stuff. And it'd be nice to have that box to be able to be shipped. And they drop ship for you, Brian.
Yeah, we'll take care of it all. We have a warehouse here in Texas, so keep it simple. I can walk you through that process if you want me to.
Sure.
Yeah.
Brian, do you want him to? I don't know.
Yeah, absolutely. So, sorry, my daughter keeps asking me a question.
It's what happens when you have, single dad. Anyway.
That's right.
Oh, good.
Sure. So when a coaching client comes on, so they're gonna get
Brian's coming on.
Yeah.
What would you do for Brian?
Yeah. So
personal.
Yeah. So what I'm doing today is when somebody becomes a coaching client, they get shipped a book, they get shipped flashcards, and they get. I used to send them PDFs to download, but now I'm thinking, why not make laminated versions if there was going to be a box? And so what it is it's a 12-week course. They watch a module, then they go through. We'll do a one-on-one call after that. But as far as what products they would get, it would be a 3-deck set of flashcards, a book, and I was thinking about including 2 body language books as well.
So he's the guru, so let him tell you how you should take this journey.
Yeah, and so what I like to anchor on is you said it's a 12-week program. Is that right? So is it a mixture of? It sounds like it's a mixture of online curriculum plus interaction with you.
Correct.
And so with that, the first thing we always start in is anytime you define journey or experience, you want to start with the back end anchor. So by the end of the 12-week program, what should I expect?
So they're going to be able to put together all the skills. So the 12 weeks, 1 week is each different facial feature they can put together to start understanding, building rapport with other people. So it'll be, I don't like the idea of a certification because I don't think it's a end product, but they should be able to fully utilize all the skills by the end of the 12 weeks.
Awesome. And so what we always anchor on is you start with the end to say, what's the outcome? Any product or service has an outcome. It's ultimately what you're selling. You're selling this outcome when people buy it. So we like to start with that on the back end. And the other thing that I like to look at, if it's possible, is there a way to define success? Like, how would I know if I've been successful at the end of the 12 weeks? And what I mean by that is, in the simplest answer of success, think about running a marathon. If you run a marathon, I know that before you cross the starting line, pretty much all the activities leading up to kicking off the marathon is like training. And then the second you cross the starting line, I know you're no longer training, you're now into the marathon. And when you cross the finish line, without a shadow of a doubt, you finished the marathon and are now post-marathon. So it's things like that. Those flagpoles that are just like those markers that tell me without a shadow of a doubt, a yes, no, have I been successful? When I cross the finish line,
sure,
I know I've been successful. So that's one of the things to say. Part of it is we don't do a good job defining to our customers what success looks like and making it like a binary yes or no so they know it. I know when I pass a certification for a black belt, if I pass it, I get the black belt. It's undeniable. If I make $1 million on ClickFunnels, I get the 2 Comma Club.
Right.
It's black and white. So part of also is, have you defined success? You don't have to have an answer right now, but having that metric, and it can be, if it's like, it's not that black and white for everyone, it's okay to have a criteria as well. So that's one of the things that we look at on the back end. Knowing that, it's the back anchor to build the journey. So you have your 12 weeks leading up to the back anchor. And then if you define that right, and we also like to see what's the universe of Brian, because there's probably something after the 12-week program that you want to seed. So if they want to continue, and this is the big thing, is if you provide a lot of value to your customers and you don't have the next thing, typically, you're cutting off lifetime value because you don't have the next thing to serve them.
Sure, you're absolutely correct. So there's the basic one is 12 weeks, then there's an additional 4 weeks for intermediate, and then there's another 4 weeks for advanced. So it ended up being so let me see, that's 3 months, 4 months. Yeah, so they're 5 months total.
Awesome.
So there's 5 basic modules, basically what you're saying?
No, there's 12 modules in the basic, so that's 3 months.
No, but each package.
Yeah. Oh, package, yes. So there would only be 3, right? So it'd be a basic, an intermediate, and an advanced. But I like with what you're saying is when somebody's done with the basic, maybe they would get like a second box that says, hey, congratulations, some like little token of something saying that they've completed the basic, and then ask if they're ready to move on to the next one. I see what you're saying now. Like, what is that milestone, that mark that say, hey, I've completed something? We all like, a little certificate when we did something as a kid, like, hey, I finished this thing.
I got a great idea.
Yeah.
Right.
Do it.
You know how you do when you're doing that challenge you showed me the other day, the last time, that race that you did, that you get the little pieces.
Oh, I got this right here. Whew.
So you get your face made.
Right.
And then you have 3 different pieces that get added to it, each module they get, and then they get the winning.
Oh, that's an interesting idea. I see what you're saying.
So what this is I did a Spartan race that I had no business doing back in, this was 2015, and it was not part of my identity at all. I just had this goal of doing a 5K each month, and when I did my Spartan race in 2015, this was just a race I was going to do, but they gave me my medal, so I knew I crossed the finish line. But then they gave me a third of a medal, and this was the part, and it was hanging off of this. So when I crossed the finish line, the 2 pieces were together. What's so cool about this is the second I got this piece, the rules that they set are you have to get your trifecta, you have to do a 8 to 10 miler and a half marathon. At the time, I would have said, if you told me at the beginning of 2015 I'd be doing a half marathon mud run, I would have said you lost your mind. But they put the constraints in place that they held a bigger vision for me than I held for myself. And more importantly, they said I had to do it in the same calendar year. And so once I got the blue wedge, that was the 8 to 10 miler, if I had to drag my body across that finish line, I was going to get that half marathon wedge, which for me, it was about transformation. For them, it's about lifetime value. They got more money out of me as a result. And now I just did my 17th Spartan race 2 Saturdays ago, and I'm going to Hawaii to do my beast this year. But again, they found a way they held a bigger vision for me than I held for myself. And as a result, I'm a loyal competitor. It's just such a fun thing that I never thought that I would ever do in my life.
Totally off subject, but on subject for just a second. If you haven't watched the documentary Rise of the Sufferfests, it's great because it goes into the psychology behind the adventure races, where they started from, why people love to do it. And it's a really fun documentary to watch.
Awesome. I just made a note. Never even heard of it. So I will definitely check it out. But you're right. There's moments that you do suffer, but there's so much inspiration on that course.
Yeah.
That that's what I love, is the amount of support and help. And it wasn't about just getting across the finish line. It was we all crossed together. So there's a lot of spirit in that race. But so if you have a basic, intermediate, and advanced, at the end of a process, we call it a jewel. Can you send them a jewel of something? You don't have to do something physical, but you're right. You could say they get a coin and you send them some type of display that has 3 coin slots. So they get the first one and the other 2 could be looking at them. It could be anything. We have a client that does water bottles, that every time you up level, you get a different color water bottle. Just that's what she wanted in her community. And you go to her events, you literally see tables of everyone with their water bottle that indicates where they are in their program. It's a multi-year program, and it's really cool because you could be sitting next to someone that is at the advanced stage and you're new, and just the level of conversation, you just have some insight into them. And it's just a mark of, where they are in the process. So the jewel can be anything. You don't even have to do physical, but most of the time we do love to see, you completed this. Let me reward you in some way, because people like to be recognized. People like to be seen for like what they've achieved. So those are things on the back end that we love to do to celebrate.
So you're saying participation trophies? That's what you're. No, I'm kidding.
Participation. Yes.
So finishing trophies, not participation.
I'm joking.
Yeah,
I'm joking.
But you could do a vest.
That's true.
See, he's known for his bartending vests. He wears a vest all the time
when I'm speaking. Yeah,
everybody knows who he is because of that.
I'm on podcasts. It's a V-neck. So yeah, my brand.
Yeah, he wears a vest, so you could always do like parts of a vest there or something.
Yeah, and that's like the type of, when people say swag, like I want swag with intentionality. So if it's a connection piece back to you, then I'm okay with that. But this is like when someone's like, I want a coffee mug. I'm like, do you drink coffee? And usually the answer is no.
And they always send out a small one.
Yeah. So that's on a side note, like this one that I drink out of, somebody put my logo on a tumbler, right? And so it was one of those things. I was on their podcast. I got that as a gift afterwards, and I drink from it every day. Why? Because yes, it has their logo hidden in the back, but it was more about they put the time to put my logo on it for me as well. So people love personalized gifts or something that, like you said, makes them stand out. I can't tell you how many seminars I've been to where instead of the water bottles like you're talking about, they all have the little bracelets, right? And what color is your bracelet? Says how far along you are in the program. So this is really cool ideas.
Yeah. And the other thing I would say for you is if it's a 12-week process, it's not uncommon that a lot of people, what they like to do, I'll show you in this box. Anything that we do inside a box experience, I want a welcome note. I want a getting started guide. So it's a multi-page booklet that frames up, like reinforces why they bought this program, indicates what they have access to, seeds your universe, and talks about the journey that they're about to go on. And so always we have some type of like getting started guide, a physical journey map so they can see a one pager of like for you would be the 12 weeks all the way to the outcome. And then it's not uncommon for us to have what we call a series of rip and reveal envelopes. So you can see week 1, week 2, these are upside down. Yeah. So for each of the weeks of this program, this is an 8-week nutrition program. And this is box 1 of 6 for this client. But each week they get to earn the right to open up a new envelope, and it has all the tools they need for that week. So if each week had a different theme for all the different facial expressions or the things that you're calling out, then that's something that you could start to bring to life. You can have a dashboard that they have stickers that they start to fill the dashboard as they master the different skills or scratch offs. But you can do whatever you want. The cool thing about your experience is everything's customized to you. So all we will do is start picking your brain, and the second we know there's certain things that you want, the amount of stuff that we've rebuilt for clients or created from scratch. I mean, I just want the experience to do what you need it to do to give people results faster. And that's it.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow.
I told you you'd be good.
Yeah. I'm just sitting here thinking about not just the amount of people we know that should do something like this. Like we know somebody who puts on an event twice a year, and he's good about sending unique things out. But I'm sitting here thinking how many people, when somebody signs up for a high ticket event, you don't get anything from them. You show up and you get your swag when you show up versus it getting mailed,
And the other strategy that you mentioned is that I think people think, you have to have a high ticket offer, a $1,000, $2,000, $5,000, $10,000, $25,000 offer. The power of like even self-liquidating, we're about to start testing overnight as a strategy. Imagine doing a $97 workshop just to get people in. And as part of that, you self-liquidate the cost of the box and overnight shipping. Part of it is it's not about the $97 offer. It's about seeding to upsell them into the higher ticket offers. If this is the experience I get for 97, what's it going to be like when I upgrade to one of your higher ticket programs?
That's just it.
I agree.
Yeah.
We can't hear you, Brian.
I was going to say, I love your departure and arrival signs behind you.
Yeah. What's that?
I love your departure and arrival.
Oh, yeah. I used to travel a lot more. So, it's just departures over here, jealousy, regret, all that. What do you want in your life? What do you want to leave? This was a good example of one that I got. So they sent a 1 day. It was like a 97. And they sent out pens and they sent out other things when you were doing it. And I kept it. Now, of course, I didn't write in it, but it made me want to jump on that particular webinar and go, okay, I'm going to definitely do it now because they took the time to send me something versus, again, how many do you sign up for and then just forget about them?
The cool thing about so this is going to sound crazy, but when I say everything you need to be set up for success. Like we had a client that had a $2,000 product. I talked to someone who purchased the product and I asked her, like, how's it going? And she's like, oh, it's good. And she's like, I haven't gotten started yet. And I was like, why? And her response was just because she hadn't found a pin yet. Like, $2,000 product, hadn't found a pin, didn't get started. And so this is why, like, it sounds silly, but for all the boxes, I'm like, include a pin, include the writing utensil, because I want no excuses as to why they can't. We even gave you the pin, so you have it out of the gates to be able to go through the experience. But sometimes it's things like that like put up these blockers that just people stop. And someday they have the intention of doing it. I want them to know they have everything to get started the second they open that box.
Yeah, I mean,
Brian's really thinking hard now. See,
well, I was just thinking, like, we're talking. I mean, I always say no, yes,
and hey, Brian, don't worry about the other people in our groups. Worry about yourself. Show them, and then once you do it, then they'll know exactly what to do. Focus on yourself.
I just am thinking of all the events I go to. That imagine if you had your lanyard ahead of time, so when you're going to something, you bump into people at the airport. Because I know, like Joel that we met, is because I was wearing my 10X lanyard at the airport. And that's how we got started talking. But imagine if people are having an in-person event and there's something that identifies them, and then they bump into somebody else at the airport they don't know yet, and that becomes their buddy for the event before they get there. I just was thinking larger scale. So for when we do in-person events later, Ed, that's something we should look to do.
Yeah, we're already here. That's why I've talked to them. So you're gonna go to Austin, get yours all set up. So
yes, I will.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Lanyards.
No, I'm just trying to figure out what I'm going to do with my book and other stuff that I do. So,
that's the fun part, though. Is like our big motto is like, if it's ever been done by mankind or womankind before, we're going to figure out a way to do it. If it needs to be manufactured, created, this is kind of where we get to have fun. Is just to see, what's possible.
Yeah,
and the best part is they do everything in house now.
Very cool.
Trying to keep it simple. If you had to, like, from the second we define the strategy, all the design work we can take care of. We are distributors, so we can source. We have sourcing partners globally, and then we have our warehouse, and we can easily distribute globally as well. So we try and make it as easy as possible for our clients, so you don't have to figure out, okay, now we have this belt. Now what do I do with it? We can take care of all of it.
With more and more people going to online businesses after the pandemic, can you guys ship things international too, or is it mainly just US based?
Oh, we ship everywhere. So we have partners everywhere. Yeah, we've been shipping everywhere. You have to in this day and age, and it's amazing because the amount of businesses that relied on live events that completely did not think online events would work, and then they pivoted to online, and all of a sudden had this much larger global audience. You have to do it, and especially when the timing hits right, like when someone international receives a box, especially if it's tied to an event or a coaching program, they tend to get louder than the people in the US because they're so used to not getting anything.
Yeah.
So all of these, like, yes, it costs a little bit more. We usually say international shipping benchmark maybe $32 a box.
Yeah.
That's what we see, but like, it's so worth it because, and even if they get it the day after the event, just based on when they signed up, they still get loud about it. They're still grateful for it. So, that's the power of saying, I would always ship international if you can.
Perfect. Because I think that's something people don't think about. They think, oh, well, if there's going to be a box, it can only stay stateside. So that's good to know.
Yeah.
Well, it depends on what you put. Is there a certain alcohol you put in this box?
That's a good question.
Well, you're saying stateside. There are usually reasons.
Yeah. No, like I even run into when people want to buy the flashcards. Like I go to the post office, and sometimes like to ship them internationally is more expensive than the postcards. I shipped one to Finland, and it was $86 to mail the flashcards, and the flashcards cost $97. So,
oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then that's the good thing about a fulfillment partner is they're going to get significant discounts. Like we have relationships with FedEx, UPS, all the players. So we get bulk discounts as a result of the volume we do. So,
right.
But yeah, you're right in that model, especially with, I don't know, is it like flashcards like this size or like half this size?
Yeah, they're it's a little small. It looks like a deck of cards, but there's 3 different sets of them.
Yeah. So flashcards are hot right now. Flashcards are a big trend that like it is a new opportunity. And they're sometimes cheaper than a book, to have produced. So
Yeah, well, the good news, they're already produced. And I know, thank you, Ed, for letting me take over this one. So the guy that taught me, he's got a whole garage full of the flashcards, and he just, when people buy them, he sells them. He goes in the post office and ships them. And I'm, as my way to pay him back for teaching me the skill, I help him get rid of his flashcards also. Well, I sell them. I shouldn't say get rid of, but I think he wants his garage back, if you get my drift. And yeah, so it's fun because people like the flashcards. Books can overwhelm people, and the way I explain it is, when I was in school, I got a math book, but if I was studying for a test, I made flashcards, because flashcards just have that ability to, you take what was in multiple pages and you condense it down to what you really need to learn. And then you turn around and you say, okay, this is what I need to know. This is the bare basics that I can put into practice. And that's why I see flashcards. If anybody ever offers flashcards, I buy that before a book. I don't care if they're more expensive. I bought a set of body language flashcards the other day. Why? Because they're fun. You can take them with you versus another book that's going to weigh you down. So
It's awesome. It's awesome. We're about to launch our first official product. I had my mentor look at me and he's like, you got all these boxes for all these people, but you don't have one for yourself. And so felt like he took a knife and shoved it in my side. And I was like, okay, we need our own boxes. And so we have a couple of boxes, but the first one is a whole box set that does have flashcards. It is cards.
Yeah.
The reason we did the cards was it was just a brilliant way to lay out. The whole point of this box set is your customer acquisition strategy, a visual way to lay out your customer acquisition strategy. Just because if you don't understand how you're getting customers or what your options are, you could be leaving a lot of money on the table. So I'll send you both a set once that, I think I should have them in the next month. So
awesome.
No, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Mark, this is what you do for a living. Is there anything we didn't ask you that that we should have asked you?
No, I think you've done a great job. It's, the biggest thing that I try and tell people is that, like, the sky's the limit when you start to, if you talk about experience is seen through the senses, sight, sound, touch, taste, smell. Disney has it mastered. There's certain people that just have it really mastered. Eating inside a restaurant is a different experience than getting takeout. Watching a movie in a movie theater is a different experience than watching it at home. Online, digital, they only tap into two senses. It's what you hear and what you see. So like YouTube, what you see and hear. Facebook, Instagram, what you see. Podcasting, what you hear. The cool thing about mixing physical with digital is all of a sudden it brings in the kinesthetic. You get the touch, taste, and smell elements that you can activate. And that's what's really, really powerful. So the intentionality behind the experience is a lot of what we're playing with. And it's always something that it has a higher perceived value, because like digital is, with AI especially, putting out digital content, you're seeing billions and billions of new pieces hit every day. This is a different way to differentiate and actually give the tools that people need and not make them run through hoops. So this is kind of why we anchor on what's the journey, and then how do we really get clear on providing them what they need to take them through that journey as fast as possible, get them the results, upsell them into the next product and service. Yeah.
So with this being, and I know you and Ed had talked before, I always thought you had to be a big, huge corporation to offer boxes. Who are some of your avatars, or who are people that you're surprised that they don't have a box that they should?
Our big avatars, and we have like 5 different categories. Coaches is probably our biggest one right now. Software as a service is it's a growing category for us, because it's looking at what are the first 30 days? How do I get you to stick in the first 30 days? So can I build an experience to lock people in? Service providers, doctors, lawyers, chiropractors, realtors, that's a growing category as well. A little bit more physical to local, or physical to digital and local. And a lot of like giving people the things that they need again. So we have a lawyer we're working with right now that's, if people take certain actions, and he's a personal injury lawyer, they can get a better settlement, but they need to know what they need to do. So how do we gamify that? And the last 2 are e-com, just like products like this. And info products, courses, virtual events, challenges, all fit in that info product category. So those typically are our big 5. If people, most of our clients, I would say on average are doing $500,000 up. Mostly I would say average about $1 million up. But like for me, if with a brand new product, if you have a brand new product that's not really been tested too much in the market and you're new to the game, I would probably steer you away from boxes just to like validate the concept. However, if this is a product that you've tested again and again and again, it's pretty dialed in, like you start to become a really good candidate to do it. And my big thing is just like, again, stop making it so hard for people, like give them what they need. So this is why the way we do boxes, it's not uncommon for them to be between 15 and $30. So if you have a 97, 297, 997 plus $25,000 offer, I wouldn't bat an eye. It's just different strategies of how I would create it.
Do you see a lot of people do the unboxing? Like I remember pre-COVID, so like 2016, 2017, there was film yourself opening up your ClickFunnels box. But I haven't seen anything like that in a very long time. Do you see that when people get a physical box, it helps because they're excited to open it? So sometimes they film it and they put it on social media, which then helps the box's creator as well?
Absolutely. Like for us, that's what got my attention, because when I stumbled upon this was never meant to be the business. But like I did a virtual event and I created a publication, and the publication featured all the speakers. What I didn't expect was that all the speakers would then start to show off their spread in the publication on social media, take pictures. Then people who bought a ticket to the event that I put on, they started teaching from it. They would go live in their Facebook group showing off parts of it. So they started selling my product for me. And even when we did our first box, which was a high ticket online box, which was like teaching you how to launch your high ticket product. Yeah. The amount of people that would see other unboxing videos, buy the product, and then do their own version of it. It's incredible to see that, we're seeing average of about 3 to 7 minutes per video. And even if 20, 30, 50 other people have done it, people still want to do it themselves and show off the box experience. So in that sense, like when you activate your audience in a really powerful way, they become the ambassadors, like starting to sell the product. And I would say incentivize that behavior, encourage it, enter them into a drawing, like give them access to a special event or bonus, because people get really excited about the opportunity to go deeper.
Okay. What's the average number of boxes you should order if you want to create? I should go 2 things. What's the price to run this through? And then what's the cost? How many should they have? 1,000, 2,500? What is the amount that they should do?
My happy spot is about 1,000 boxes, because once you hit 1,000, we can start looking at overseas, which just unlocks a whole nother division of like what's possible. And I think typically 1,000 is a breaking point that you see costs drop significantly. We have clients that do as little as 250, 500. We have clients that do a lot more than that. We have clients that have gone upwards 15,000. So just know that this is a game that the more you get, the less it is per unit. The less you get, the more it is per unit. We usually say as a bottom 250, because by the time you do 50 or 100, you might as well do 250. Right. Because you're paying such a premium at 50 or 100. You're paying the same setup costs that get amortized over the 500 or 1,000 unit shipment. So that's kind of why like 250 is what we say is that base. You can go below it. If you said I needed to do 10, we can tell you how to do 10. It's just you're going to be paying an arm and a leg for boxes. So,
but you want 250 at least, though, and then you can try to see how it's working to see if there's any changes you want to make changes to the boxes, right?
If you're on the fence and you're like, I'm between, and people usually like will give you all the ranges so you can see 250 to 5,000 plus for the same build, because that's just built into our process. If you were like, I'm between 250 and 500, I would say go 250. You can always, and then there's messaging of how you position in the marketplace, because now you can create urgency and scarcity. We only have 250. You'll see this. We actually put on the first 1,000 boxes, Founders Edition. So only the first 1,000 get Founders Edition. We actually, in the box set that this comes with.
Do we get a Founders Edition?
Yes, I'll send you one. I'll send you the whole box set. So you'll see the whole box set we did with like an insert, but there's also a certificate right here that literally says that this is box 3 of 1,000. And so the cost of doing something like this, pennies. I mean, everything on earth is limited edition. There's only so many Brian Black V-neck shirts out there, but it's a finite number. The difference is some marketer came forward and said, let's make this limited edition. Let's control it. So the first 1,000, you can be a founding member. People take pride in the fact that they can get a limited edition or a founding member set. But the second that we sell out of this 1,000, then it's just standard. We'll continue to produce it. But like Ed, to your point, though, I would rather you sell out of the 250 and do one of those types of tactics. Get the insights, because chances are, I mean, this is not like a digital product that you can just upload a new video or PDF. Once you go to print, it's printed. Your choices are to ship, as is or to reprint. And so in that model, it's okay to say it, reprint. Let's update the journey map. Let's switch out these pieces. That's the perfect time to do it. So you can always get more, but the messaging is going to be really critical for your people. Because the second that, if you did 250 units, the 251 person just needs to know that they're in the next wave, and that they'll get their box. But that's all about expectation setting at that point.
Because didn't you have a YouTube person who did like so many boxes and then they were limited edition for when they hit certain points or something?
Yeah, they did 500 boxes that sold out in like 14 minutes, and it was a commemorative box to sell it. So people got angry because they wanted that box. And so the next time we did it, we ordered higher quantity. But like this is like that's the power of, you know, and that was interesting because it was a very different style box, a commemorative box. I was like, let me see how this goes. But it was really cool to see that people felt so connected to her journey and part of her world that, you know, people took pride in the fact that they knew her when she had, you know, 500 subscribers, 1,000 subscribers. So to feed that and nurture that, like it was just really cool to see the power of getting this commemorative limited edition box to celebrate, because her journey was their journey too. And she wanted them to feel a part of her success. Yeah.
So a lot of our audience is, like you said, coaches, they host live events, something of that nature. What's the process to work with you? So it's like a discovery call. Then let's say that they move forward with a box, and you mentioned that you do everything in-house, creation things. So from the day someone says yes with you, what's an average turnaround time to create what's going to go in the box before they're ready to ship?
Yeah, so we tell people you don't need to know like the details. We'll figure that out through the workshop. So phase one, after the discovery call, and they're like, let's go. It's what we call activate. There's two key elements in that. One is a strategy session. It's virtual. It's 2 hours. This is kind of where we break your business down into 10 different categories. And we do that because I need to see the big vision, and a good experience will seed your universe. So it starts to prep the next step. Then if there's anything that we need to go through, tools, resources, frameworks, we'll review all of that before the all-day workshop. And the all-day workshop, people like to come to Austin because you can get your hand on samples, and it's just fun to be in the room. But we have clients that do it virtually as well. But in that is where, like, I don't want to show up and learn about your business. I want to be pretty smart, and my team as well. So when we show up for that workshop, we can hit the ground running. So that's phase one. That could be as little as a week, you know, to go through. The goal of that is to come up with the blueprint, and then we'll give you the timeline to deliver it. We'll also give you estimates based on the vision. So you can see, like, before you advance to the next phase, how much is this whole campaign going to cost? You need to know your numbers and potential profitability. Phase two is called build. This is where we do our kickoff and a brand identity session, because most of our boxes have like 30 to 50 pieces in it. Sounds like a lot, but when it's all organized, it's just all comes together into a really cool experience. But we do that because people want to either, like, we can mimic your branding. If you don't have, we can up level your branding. That's what most people do, to say, can you just take this to the next level? Or we can rebuild it, like help you reimagine it. And then from there, we'll do all the design based on the blueprint from the first phase. By the end of that, everything's ready to go into production. So phase three is what we call delivery. And that is where we send everything into production. We assemble everything. We activate the warehouse, and we get it ready to go. So phase two for build, when we're actually building out that process, it's about a 2 to 3 month period, because we have to get all the inputs and all the pieces and work with you to get those completed. It just depends on where we land on phase one, if it's a 2 or 3 month process. And then the final phase with the workshop, it could be as little as 2 weeks to you know, a month, month and a half. If we're going international, it takes a little bit longer to get things in hand. But once all those boxes are ready to go, you know, we can ship within, usually we say if an order comes in before 10 a.m., it'll go out same day, if not next business day. Wow. So we have that process pretty dialed in.
Very cool.
So 2 to 3 months is a good benchmark. It just depends on the complexity end to end.
What's the cost for the getting the whole thing ready? Is there a cost for that?
Yeah. So for our services is probably the biggest cost. And for that first initial phase, it's $10K. And then for the build phase, it goes down to $5K. And then delivery, it goes down even further. And so a typical build, when you look at phase one and phase two, for most clients, is probably between the $20,000 to $25,000 range for the setup. Hard cost of goods, we want to get you the best prices possible. So like I said, my happy zone is for boxes, 15 to 30 bucks. And whatnot. And so that's kind of like, those are the big numbers that we say. Shipping for US, we like to do UPS. The reason for that is UPS arrives in 1 to 3 business days for 90% of the US. FedEx in the US has lost more packages than anyone else that I've worked with. And USPS will get there on its own time someday. But UPS is like, in this game, especially with experience, when people order, they want that box. They want that instant gratification. So UPS has always been super reliable for us. So usually 15 for US and 32 for international is usually what I'd benchmark. But we run through all the models with clients because you need to know all these numbers. Yeah.
Very cool.
I had a package USPS that went from Florida to California up to Washington and then back down to Modesto.
Yeah. Yeah. I've had packages that have sat until USPS had enough to send to that destination. So it could have sat there for 2 weeks and then they had enough to be like, okay, now all these need to move. And that's where I was just like, these have got to get in the hands of people faster. You're not really saving that much money, maybe saving $1 or $2, depending on what you're doing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Wow. Crazy.
All right. So anything else, Brian? Any other questions?
No, I'm good for now. That's a lot to learn. Well, I will ask a question. So somebody is going to do a book launch. Given the time frame, it sounds like when they start working with their publisher, when they're going to go on Amazon, things of that nature, if they're going to do their funnel, their big launch for their book, they need to reach out to you about 60, 90 days before. Okay.
That's good. And like especially if we can get like an early manuscript, we'll read the book, because if we don't go through the book, then we're not going to be able to work with, we're not going to be a good partner to you.
Sure.
So having access to that also helps us see, is there things that we should do? If you're looking just to keep it really simple, book and a couple items, but most of the book box experiences that we do, people want to bring to life elements of the book and almost gamify the book experience, similar to what you saw with the Ideas That Influence book box experience.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then you could actually have a pre-sale of it, of your book with the box instead of the Amazon thing. So.
And we could do the mock-up and all that fun stuff too. So mock-ups are easy to do. We do the box out of the gate because even like by the time 30 to 60 to 90 days out, you're probably going to have your book cover already done.
Right.
And some people can feel. We've had people ask us, can we design their book cover, because they know they want it to match the box experience.
Wow.
So all of that's not a problem to do at all too. Yeah.
Okay. I'll ask one more time. Any other questions there, Brian?
No, that was my last one. We know a lot of people are going to be launching books, so I want to make sure if they're ready, they can reach out to Mark.
Well, yeah, it's just how they do it. And so, yeah. So Mark, what's the best way for people to reach out to you?
Yeah, best way is you can go to our website, customboxagency.com. You can always hit me up on Facebook or LinkedIn, message me directly, Mark Stern. So those are the easiest ways to get it. But yeah.
All right. Thanks for being here. Brian, thanks for being here. Mark, thank you so much for coming on. I knew that you would give a lot of information for people to understand how they can make themselves be the authority in their industry.
Yeah, that's awesome. Ed and Brian, appreciate the time. Thank you.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate it. The best way to support us is go to our YouTube channel, Aces53, and subscribe, and we'll talk to you. Oh, almost forgot. We're not here next week. We're taking next week off because of the summer, and we'll be back the following week. Sorry, Brian. I almost forgot.
Hey, you remembered.
Yeah. All right, everybody. Make